real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward.
Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is episode 126 with myself, Trevor and Kale. As always, Kale Goodman.
What's up, everybody?
Guys, today we have a treat. This is an individual that we look up to. We've watched you for quite some time, so much so that you're affiliated with some of the friends that we have, Stewman and Wags. And this individual put together a mastermind group, the Avengers Mastermind Group, and that's one of the groups. You guys hear us talk quite a bit about, investing into information or people that are maybe a few levels ahead of where you're at, and that's exactly what we do. And we have Cody Sperber, aka Clever Investor. Do you think more people know you as Clever Investor or Cody?
Probably Clever at this point.
Yeah.
The personal brand, I never really actually say Cody Sperber very often, so they hear Clever Investor a lot more.
Well, we obviously set up an Instagram page. We called it Real Business Owners because there's two of us, but we get people hitting us up all the time like, should I set up like an alias or should I do it under my individual name? What would be your recommendation for people like that? Because you kind of have an alias and you've done a great job with it.
For me, it was natural because my company name was Clever Investor.
Okay.
So I actually, my whole belief system around Clever Investor wasn't necessarily to call myself Clever Investor. It was, I'm just happen to be the original Clever Investor of the community, but I call my community members Clever Investors.
Gotcha.
So the whole concept is, the brand is Clever Investor. I want people to know that. So it's just one of those things where every single sign-off, I would just say it over and over and over. And people started knowing me as the Clever Investor. But
so did you start your company with that, and then you called the individuals that you worked with Clever Investors, you set up the page?
No,
was
it was my vision. It was my vision.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I understand, look, it's the same concept of, people don't ask for a refund from a friend.
Gotcha.
It's I wanted them to feel like this is their community. This is bigger than just making money or bigger than just education.
It's not about Cody.
It's not about Cody.
Gotcha.
And it never was designed. I think in the online education business, I had to take the lead in the beginning, but I'm actually the last 2 years been transitioning and putting other people, successful investors, up on the platform, making them kind of the man or the woman and allowing the community
to relate the brand to that individual. And really that's the idea of business, is to get to a point where you can kind of phase back a little bit and not have to be so time invested into your own company. And is that kind of one?
Well,
it's like a slow transition.
I just always wanted it bigger than myself.
Gotcha.
People I think like me because I'm very relatable. I don't take things too serious.
Right.
I joke around a lot. I'm not
thicker than a Snicker. Yeah. I won't finish it. I won't finish the quote, but that one was a good one.
I use self-deprecation as a tool.
Right. Gotcha.
Especially in an environment like the Avengers, where everybody's such a badass in that environment that it's like, how do I cut through the ego real fast, get right to building the relationship and making everybody feel comfortable there. I do that at Clever Investor as well and all my companies. And so
that's like one of your zones of genius. It's not just smart to build a community where everyone feels like friends and everyone's, there to level up, but you actually back it up. Like your trainings, the communities, the people you surround yourself with and bring together for like your mastermind. I mean, it works, right? You guys back it up. I mean, I'm getting gains all the time. Every time I go to, the mastermind, it's like, man, all of a sudden I'm doing business with guys in the group or we're doing investments together. And I think that's, something I see in you is like, man, your zone of genius is how to really build a community around your vision and your products. And, my hat's off to you for that.
I've mastered the art of leverage. I mean, I really think it's like everybody knows me as the real estate guy or a great marketer. But I'm maneuvering through a lot of these very high-level relationships just because in real estate, one of the first skills I had to develop was leverage, right? Like I didn't have any money, so I had to leverage other people's money to buy real estate. I had to leverage other people's skills and resources and knowledge to even get to an opportunity that I can potentially do. And once that clicked in my mind, it was like, oh, that's what being an entrepreneur really is. It's it's not necessarily being the best in your skill. It's really being the best at leverage and figuring out how do I move all these chess pieces around to get people in position or myself into position to win and take advantage of different stuff and allow other people to win. And that I would say, if you ask me, what's your superpower, I would say I've mastered the art of leverage, and I figured out how to break into that next level relationship of very high level, powerful people and have them serve my way into their circle and have them want me in there and to do business with me.
Absolutely. So powerful.
So, I mean, look, you've got all the cool stuff, cool houses. You were just in Cabo on the yacht doing backflips and, the Lamborghinis. And if you guys follow Clever Investor, if you don't, you should. The individuals that do can see all that cool stuff. And that's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, when I see shit like that, all I think about is the amount of struggle that you had to go to get to that. Like when I see Andy, with his first form building and it just drives forever and ever, I'm just like, holy shit, what did that man have to go through to have that and make that real? And so I want to talk a little bit about maybe some of the early struggles that you had to overcome as an entrepreneur, because the individuals listening to this podcast, I would say, are normally, maybe 1 to 5 years. We have some people that obviously are, 10 years plus in business, but, we like to kind of highlight some of the things that individuals had to go through to get what they have, because a lot of people want to see the end result and they want to emulate that. But I think, the 2-year or 3-year or 4-year guys trying to emulate an individual that's been doing business for 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, and they're skipping steps. And then they put themselves in a tough situation because they're trying to look like Cody, when right now they need to look like the entrepreneur at year 2, which is really driving a fucking Honda Civic or whatever you've got to drive that's paid off, so that the money that you make, you don't have to take from your business to live the life. You could take and reinvest back to the point where your company's cash flowing so much that you have the money to reinvest, plus now start having the lifestyle. So let's talk about the year 1, year 2, year 3 Cody, and some of the things that he had to go through to live the life that you're currently living.
Yeah. And what's funny is I don't even like social that much, so I don't.
Well, you do a damn good job of it.
You should see what I'm not posting.
Like yeah,
right? That's where all the fun happens.
Believe that.
Being an entrepreneur, unfortunately, I didn't have anybody around me growing up, other than my dad, that was successful on any level. None of my uncles, none of my family members, none of the people we lived in. We lived very
normal, just
very, not. I wasn't like living in poverty, but we weren't. We
high on the hog.
We didn't have
either.
any leftover money, and so when you don't have those role models or you don't have access to successful people, you don't think successfully, right? And so like that first year was just me transitioning. The best thing that ever happened to me was I went in the Navy. That was by far, because it plucked me out of my, it plucked me out of that environment where we were smoking weed, playing video games, hanging out, hustling, like no real ambition. Not one of my friends was talking about business. Nobody, like nowadays, like you see, this is one of the good things about social is a lot of these young millennials and these young kids, they're getting exposed to business principles and they're seeing these mentors and these Andy Frisellas of the world. And they're like, oh, I want to mirror that, but it's at least they're being exposed to that. We didn't have any of that. So the military plucked me out and at least put me in an environment where it was like, okay, you're going to get up at this time. You're going to do these activities. Everything had a system. Everything had structure. Everything got, it was a lot of like manning up, getting your ass kicked, and realizing that you can do hard things. And so that
building the confidence almost in yourself.
Yeah. And if you're listening, you probably can relate to this. My personality type is not employee.
Yeah,
I'm too rebellious. I'm too, I
push the boundaries a little too much.
Yeah, and I just have a hard time being a good team member. Ask anybody that works for me or with me. I'm not like lovey-dovey. I don't have a lot of empathy. I'm kind of like cut right to it. Like if I don't like something, I just
straight out
rolls
say
out.
It. Yeah.
And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But like as in the military, one of the other lessons I learned is that I don't like being told what to do. And I want to fight really hard to not be in that environment. And so when I first got into entrepreneurship, it was by accident. I was going to school and
how old were you?
Well, I went in the Navy when I was 18, 19, 20. I was probably 22, 23. I was probably 23.
That's the first age you were exposed to entrepreneurship.
Well, my dad, yes. Other than conversations with my dad or just seeing my dad, do certain things. But I was going to school and I was didn't know what I wanted to do, and so I was going to get a degree in finance. And I'm actually horrible at math, so I asked my dad.
Unless you're talking about money, probably.
Well, I'm good with money. I'm bad with math, to be honest with you. But I asked my dad what I should do, and he's like, "You should get a degree in finance." And I'm like, "That sounds like the worst thing I could ever do. I'm horrible at math." But I did it because the MGI Bill was paying for it. So I was like, okay. And I was taking classes at the W.P. Carey School of Business at ASU. And a friend of mine flipped a house and made $80,000 and rolls up in a brand new Mercedes where I'm like, and we were going to lunch, and I'm like,
what the hell?
Where'd you get the car, man? Because I was partying with him 3 months earlier, and he was broke. He had no money. I think I had to pay for all his drinks and everything. So I'm like, how'd you get the car? And he's like, I flipped a house. I made $80,000, and I have another one that I'm going to make like 30 or 40 grand. And I'm like, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you're flipping houses. Like, you don't know anything about real estate. You have no money. How did you do that? And he penciled it out on a napkin, this concept called wholesaling, which is no money down real estate. And I looked at the napkin. First off, I thought he was full of crap. I thought it was a scam. I thought that's real estate. You get your license, or, you come from a family of money. You do some real estate, or you're already rich. But never did I think somebody with no money, no resources, no connections, no license.
Broke 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Can
and
now
so
do that.
Now that was when I started going down the rabbit hole. And so luckily it was like a twofer because it was becoming an entrepreneur and becoming an investor. So it was like I'm learning both of these mindsets at the same time. And that, unfortunately, back then there was no social media. There was not a lot of information on the internet. So I had to look at newspapers. And in the back of a newspaper, it would say, so-and-so guru is going to Reno, Nevada and putting on an event.
So I would buy
the ticket.
To the seminar or
and
whatever.
And I would try to recruit a friend to go with me. And the first real event, my friend Jeremy, who flipped the house, was like, I'll go with you. And I'm like, cool, this is perfect. And then he bailed on me at the last second. So I ended up going to this event alone, which is already scary enough. It's like you don't know what you're doing. I felt,
out of place.
Dude, I looked like I was 15.
Yeah.
I was wearing like my dad's suit. Yeah. It was like I drove a piece of crap Nissan pickup truck. I
think I've seen that picture too.
Oh yeah. It was
like a brown or gray or something.
Gray, yeah. And so it was just, it was what it was. I was starting from zero. And we would go to these seminars. I'd buy books and tapes and courses and do boot camps and stuff, put it all on my credit card. Yeah. And that was my introduction to getting into real estate. I just set up my own LLC. I remember how weird that feeling was. Like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I didn't know you set up a business, then you get an EIN number, then you go get a bank account. And then there's like steps to it. I was just like fumbling all over the place. And it was really dumb because I didn't have a mentor. I probably should have found somebody who was already doing well.
It. Yeah. But again, social media wasn't around. It was probably far more difficult in those days to actually find somebody that would sit down with you.
I never even heard of the word mentor.
Yeah, exactly.
I heard a coach, like a sport coach, but I didn't know in business you have mentors and in sports you have coaches. And so anyways, I was fumbling around. 9 months I tried to do my first real estate deal.
Trying to do what? Locate the first deal or?
So the concept of no money down real estate works like this, or wholesaling works like this. So imagine you're looking down the average American street, right? And you're looking down this like working class neighborhood, and 85% of all the houses that you're looking at, the sellers or owners of those houses, they're not motivated to sell. So if they did, they'd hire a real estate agent, they'd clean the property up, make repairs, and then list it and sell it and take whatever time necessary to get top dollar. Well, also down that street, 15% of those homeowners are very motivated to sell because of life, divorce,
something's going on.
Lost their job, relocation, medical issue, legal issues. Like there's 1,000 reasons why life happens to people. Well, when it happens to them, most Americans, unfortunately, save less than $1,000 a year, just statistically. They're bad at money. And so we live on credit. We don't save our money. We don't invest. And so what happens when life hits you?
And you get that unforeseen.
Where's like, and you went to jail last night, and then you woke up and you lost your job, and you're like, the only money I have to my name is trapped in my house in the form of equity. And so when that happens and they see a sign on the side of the road that says cash for houses, or they get a postcard that says, I'll pay cash for your house, close in 10 days, get you all the money you need, or nowadays a Facebook ad or a Google ad, all these marketing strategies, if I can get out in front of a motivated seller and say, I'm your solution to unlocking your equity and solving your housing problem or your financial problem, they'll call. And so that was wholesaling, is go find that motivated seller, work out a deal with them to buy their house for cash at a discount. So if it's worth $150, I might be trying to buy it for $80, $90. Now, why would somebody sell it for $80 or $90 when it's worth $150? Because it needs repairs, and they're motivated as all can be. And then at that moment, we work out, we go back and forth. I meet you, I build a relationship with you, we come to agreement, you're going to sell it to me for $80. Yeah. It's worth $150, and I fill out some paperwork, a contract, right? That you're going to sell me this house for $80 grand cash. I'm going to close in 3 weeks, and I'll even pay the closing costs. Those are the terms of our deal. Okay. So once I fill out a contract and you sign it and I sign it, in the United States, I, the wholesaler, gain what's called equitable interest of the property. No different than if you're renting a property. Equitable interest just means I have certain rights to that property. Even though I haven't bought it yet, if you're renting, you have the right to use the property. Right. It's not your property, but you've gained those equitable rights. And so when you sign a purchase and sale agreement, even though I haven't bought it yet, I gain the right, so I control the real estate. You can't go and sell it to somebody else once you sign a contract with me. The contract says in there you can't sell it to anybody else. And so anyways, that wholesaling is finding the seller, working it out, filling out the paperwork, and then what I do is I take that contract, because I just did all the hard work, right? I take that contract, I put it above my head, and I start screaming at the top of my lungs to real cash buyers, people that actually have lots of money, right? Landlords, rehabbers, people like you see on TV that are flipping houses. And I'm saying, I got this deal. It's worth $150. I'll sell it to you for $90. Yeah. Who wants it? And I'm just putting it back out there through the same marketing channels that I was doing to find the seller. Now I'm just changing the message of, I got a hot deal, putting it back out there. And let's say.
So the idea is for you to get rid of it before you have to come to the table with money.
Right? I have 3 weeks before this thing's supposed to close. But the problem is I don't have any money. Right? So now I got to go find somebody with money. And so I find you. You got money. Yeah. And I'm like, I got this for $90. And you're like, I'll take it. Well, I'm into it for $80. You're agreeing to buy it for $90. I'm playing matchmaker between a motivated seller and a cash buyer. And when your money actually closes the deal, the 10 grand that's left over, I get. Well, in Jeremy's instance, he had 80 grand left over, and he got it, and then he bought a Mercedes.
So that was a wholesale deal, and he made 80.
It was a wholesale deal. But it was a higher price. Yeah, it was like a $500,000-$600,000 house. So like the higher up you go, the bigger the spreads can be, and it's not as noticeable for everybody in the transaction. Right. And there's different ways to do this concept of wholesaling. Like, what's the paperwork involved? How do I transfer it from me to the end buyer without everybody seeing what's going on and imploding the deal because everybody gets emotional? So there's an art form to it. That was my first 9 months in the business, just trying to do that strategy. The problem was I looked 15. I didn't have the pitch down. I couldn't anticipate. I'm so analytical and I overanalyze everything that every time somebody said something, I would just panic. I also made a lot of excuses. I would be scared to pick up the phone and make calls. Because if they ask me a question that I don't know, I'm like, oh.
Just imposter syndrome was getting the best of you.
Oh, I had all my self-limiting beliefs. Of course. Looping. But I had this internal drive of screw this, I need to make
money,
Yeah. 9 months, finally had a deal almost at the finish line, and it fell apart at the last minute. And that was the final straw. Because think about this. Your first few months, how much energy do you have for your idea? You're I'm going to kill it. I'm going to be a real estate
The honeymoon phase, where everything's going to be perfect.
I already spent all my millions. I had in my head, I'm buying,
I'm
buying
rich.
everything. And it didn't happen. So by the third month, your parents are sitting you down going,
"What the hell,
Cody, you're making a mistake. Focus on college. You're screwing up. Rich people do this, not broke kids. What are you doing?" And my girlfriend, who was all supportive at the time, who after the 8th or 9th month is no longer supportive. She's like, I'm not paying your credit card
Yeah.
bills.
Right.
You put $30,000 worth of credit card debt.
That was the education side?
Yeah, or and flights and plane tickets and all that stuff, and hotel rooms. So I was just like, okay, maybe I'm not cut out. And then all of a sudden the little voice is really loud. It's not for you. This is wait till later. Stay focused on this other thing. Change
Buckle
directions.
down, make money, and then when you have money, maybe flirt with this.
So I quit it at the 9th month, and I was like, screw it. It's not for me. And I needed to pay my credit card bill badly, so I was walking on ASU, and I looked at this little jobs bulletin board, and it said, hey, we're hiring for a bookkeeper. And I'm like, oh, I'm in a degree in finance. I took an accounting class.
Yeah.
I could probably figure out what bookkeeping is. So I applied. My girlfriend helped me put a resume together, and I applied, and the guy brought me in for an interview the next day, and he said, do you know how to do books? And I lied to him. I'm like, I know how to do books.
Easy.
Yeah, easy. I know books. I mean, books.
Pressing
everybody
buttons. Yeah, I can do that.
And he's like, great, you're hired. And that was a Friday. So I left his office and I went and got bookkeeping for dummies at the bookstore, and I read it all weekend long, and I taught myself books over the weekend. And then I showed up on Monday and I was a bookkeeper.
Said I'm ready to go.
Yeah. So I did books for the next 4 months, and I hated it.
Right.
And no offense to bookkeepers. It's a great job.
It's not for everybody.
Not for me.
Yeah.
And I was complaining the whole time. And on the 4th month, my friend Zach was like, hey, you want to go to this real estate seminar in San Francisco? And I was like, dude, are you freaking
Been
nuts?
there, done that.
Yeah, never going to happen.
Still trying to pay that last one off.
So in debt. There's never, and he goes, Cody, you're miserable. You hate your life. You hate bookkeeping. I know you better than anybody. You got to do this. And he recruited Shannon, who was my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and she started in on me. And she was like, dude, I don't want to marry somebody who's complaining all the time, who's a whiner, who quits, who this and that. And I got pissed off when I was hearing it, but then I woke up the next morning. I'm like, you know what? They're right.
Yeah.
And so I agreed to go. And when I went, I walked into something that changed my life. It was, I didn't know it at the time going, but when I went in that room, you ever have a moment, I call them pivotal moments in your life, but have you ever had one of those moments where like everything felt right, everything went into alignment, and like the neck hairs stood up and you just felt like this is it. This feels right. That was me walking into that Jack Miller conference. And I saw about 400 people in a room. The people I was buying courses off of, they were in the audience taking notes. And they're learning from this old timer who's up at this podium. It wasn't a sales fest. It wasn't a pitch conference. It was just
information.
It was just a bunch of people that love real estate investing, that built this little creative real estate investing community led by a guy named Jack Miller. And I knew instantly I was at the right place. And while there was a break on the second day, I went to get lunch at the bar, and there was this guy sitting at the bar, and his name was Lyle. And I was talking to him, and I ordered my food, and it took like 40 minutes to get my food because they were really busy. So I'm just talking to this old timer, and he had been with the Jack Miller crew for like 30 years, 20 years, and he is super successful in real estate. And as I was talking to him, it was like I was downloading from God. Like I just felt like, ask this guy to mentor you. Ask this guy to mentor you. Like put yourself out there. Like, do whatever it takes to get this guy to help you, because the things he was talking about was all the things I always wanted to do but didn't have the roadmap. And unfortunately, I was winging it before, and winging it's not a strategy. So I said, hey.
Oh, it's a strategy to fail.
Yeah.
And get frustrated. Yeah.
If you want to become a bookkeeper, just
start trying to do your shit by yourself. Yeah.
And so I put it out there, and I'm like, dude, will you mentor me? And he got real serious. He's like, you can't handle me mentoring you. Like, you're not going to hang. You know, like, it ain't even, it ain't
thick skin.
You already quit once. Like, dude, you're not that dude. And I got kind of like offended by it. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. I'll literally do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Like, you have to mentor me. I don't know why I feel this strongly, but I know I was meant to be here at this conference. I got to get out of this bookkeeping job. I will do whatever it takes. And he was like, you'll do anything, whatever it takes. And I said, I will do whatever it takes. And he goes, whatever it takes.
Right.
And I said, yeah. He goes, okay. 3 rules. show up tomorrow morning by 10 a.m. with $10,000 and hand it to me. That's number one. Number two, like baseball, we have a 3-strike rule here. You don't. If I give you something to do and you give me any lip, you push back, you lie to me, you do anything, strike 1, strike 2, by strike 3, you're out. Yeah. I keep your 10 G's. Don't ever call me again. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, what's the third rule?
Yeah.
You know, how much worse can this get? And he's like,
you're like, I'm already out on rule number 1.
I'm already. Like, I was about to push back and negotiate the 10 grand, and now I'm like, that's not happening. Yeah. And he goes, the third rule is, I get to decide how much money you make and how much money I make from every deal that if I'm even remotely involved in, I get to decide. Except for the first deal, you get to keep 100% of it. After that, I might give you $5, 10%, 20%. I might give you all of it. I don't know, but I will decide.
He's the master
deal
committer.
by deal. And I'm like thinking to myself, well, I haven't actually done a deal, so 0%.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I'm not doing very good right at the moment. So if hopefully you'll, do the right thing and give me a good portion of it, which he didn't. He took a lot of it, by the way.
Really?
Oh yeah, no, he was a gangster.
Yeah. That's why I had deep pockets.
I made this dude. Like now I run Clever Investor, which is an education
you can
company.
See all the back end
and I
shit,
mentor people, and people pay 10 grand, 17 grand stuff. I'm like, dude, you're getting the greatest deal.
Yeah.
Because I paid this dude millions of dollars to have proximity to him.
You paid him 10 grand for him to then take your money.
Yeah, I paid him 10 grand for him to decide that he's just going to use and abuse me.
Yeah.
But it was great because I figured out the 10 grand. Thank God for my parents and some friends. I got the money together, and we got to work. And it was the best decision I ever made because that dude taught me so many things you can't learn in books. He had a house here in Arizona and a house in Colorado, so he was part-time here and part-time there. And we would just sit in his living room, and he would take this old rickety whiteboard and just model all these scenarios out to me. And it really helped me fill in all the pieces and all the stuff I was complicating.
Yeah, it was all
things.
Coming together for you.
It was internalizing and coming together. And it just helps having somebody there that blazed the trail that I can ask questions to as I'm like sitting at a kitchen table working with the seller. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I need to step outside real quick and make a phone a friend. I'll be right back.
He's going to take 90% of the deal anyway, so I might as well get his advice on it.
Yeah, so I would call him up and be like, all right, here's the scenario. He'd be like, well, think about it like this. If you offer this and they say no, then immediately go here and then do this and then move it here. And he was a real transactional engineer. He saw everything like a chessboard. Yeah, like a chessboard. And he had just done it for so long. He already knew the outcomes of and where the hidden profit centers are and all that stuff. So fast forward 2 months after meeting Lyle, I got my first big deal. $40,000 I made on the deal. I got to keep it all.
Credit card debt's now paid off?
Well, sort of. I paid some of it off, but that first deal was a game changer for me because it
made it real.
It was like Roger Bannister running the 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
It was like 1,000 years of nobody doing it, and then all of a sudden, within a year, 100 people do it because one guy made it real.
Possible.
Right. Yeah. And so for me, that deal was like, I could do this again and again. And so when I did that deal, it was actually a really tough deal. It was a foreclosure, bankruptcy, and a divorce. And I phoned Lyle a bunch of times, and he gave me all this advice, and I ended up doing this deal. And that empowered, that 40 grand empowered me to quit my job as a bookkeeper. I proposed to my girlfriend, who's now my wife. I bought her a ring for supporting, you find somebody good that is just a day one, she was beautiful. I knew, first off, she's way out of my league. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's supportive. Like, I'm like,
she's sweetheart. Every
yeah.
time I've met her a couple times, she's always been super sweet.
She's the bomb. So it's like, I knew.
And if she puts up with you, that's a good one, bro.
Oh yeah,
that's a good one.
You have no idea.
We've seen Cody get wild, so a little bit, not wild. I'm sure there's another level to it, but he's a good time. That's for sure.
I like.
We enjoy him.
And so so I got her a ring, and I paid back my dad, and I gave him some money and helped my parents out and different stuff, and I paid some credit card bills. And the one thing I did for myself, just because when you're so broke, what do you have a hard time doing when you're so broke and everything's so painful?
What do I have a hard time doing?
Yeah. Like, are you sleeping well?
Probably not.
No.
You know,
Yeah,
not sleeping
no,
good.
you're
not
sleeping
happy.
good. You're just loop. Like I was in such a
Well,
bad
your
financial
brain's
place.
going a million miles an hour to try to get out of the situation.
Exactly.
Right?
And so the one gift I gave myself is I went and I bought a brand new Tempur-Pedic bed. Because I was like, what is something? Lyle was like, you got to go celebrate for yourself. You got to do something. And I'm like, I just want to do more deals. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want it. He goes, I know you've been sleeping horrible. Go get yourself a nice bed. And I was like, okay. So I went and bought the most expensive Tempur-Pedic bed in the joint, the one up on the platform with all the spotlights on it, like the California King. I'm like, I'll take that one. And so that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial real journey.
And did you start sleeping better?
Oh, yeah.
That's the real
I still
question.
have the bed.
Well,
Nice.
I flipped it and turned it 100 times. Shannon's like, get rid of
You're
this
getting your money's
bed.
worth.
And I'm like, I'll die on this bed.
Yeah.
You're going to bury me with this bed.
in a coffin the size of a Tempur-Pedic.
Hey, a good bed
yeah.
makes a big difference.
Yeah,
Trevor heard
first
me
deal.
rave about my bed, man. I'm like,
Yeah, Kel's got this nice, expensive bed, and I'm
My
like,
lower
dude,
back stop hurting.
I still
Worth it.
have
It's
the
a game
best.
changer.
Yeah.
I still have the bed that we bought when we were broke when we first got married like 11, 12 years ago. And I always wake up every morning complaining about my neck and my back. But I'm such a cheapskate, I can't pull the trigger spending $5 or $10 on a bed.
Yeah, it's worth it.
It's
totally worth it.
That's what everybody says after
know
the
what you're
fact.
doing.
That's what
That's weird.
everybody says after the fact.
It's like the guys,
Why did I wait so long?
You know, if you're a dude, if your pillow's yellow. Because you just keep that thing forever.
Oh, yeah.
My wife has to throw them away.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm like, it's so good.
Yeah,
Right.
you can see right where you sleep.
I
You know, the
That's
hair
amazing.
gel and all. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Oh wait, were you finished?
I was just gonna say, that, and then from that point forward, it was game on.
Yeah.
But it wasn't easy. Like
Right.
your original
Yeah.
question was like, what are all the?
Some
I
of the
can't
struggles.
even tell you like failed partner. I don't know
Right.
how to
Yeah.
be a partner.
Yeah.
So I just pick a random lady that I meet at a meetup. I'm
Right.
like, you want to be my partner? Like, this is the worst way
Yeah.
to partner with somebody. And then, you wonder why 6 months in, she steals all the money and tells you never call her again. And you're
Right.
like, whoa, what just happened? What did
Yeah.
I do? And it's like, well, you picked the wrong partner. Like, you didn't put any thought into it. Lawsuits, in the real estate game. There's
I'm sure.
I remember my
Yeah.
first getting sued. I felt like dirty. I felt
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
What did I do
I felt like
wrong?
I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like a seller didn't want to sell me the deal after we made the deal because they realized they could sell it for more. And now they're suing me. And it's like, you
Trying to get some of
Yeah,
the money
like,
that you made off the deal.
no.
when they already-
We hadn't even closed yet. They
Oh,
were just trying to
gotcha.
get out of a contract,
Gotcha.
those kind of things.
Yeah.
And you just like realizing like a lawsuit is a tool.
Yeah.
It's a money tool,
Mm-hmm.
and I use lawsuits now very well.
Yeah.
If people aren't doing what I want them to do, it's a
Make 'em move a little bit.
It's a tool. It's
Yeah.
a negotiation.
part of the strategy now. Right?
Yeah. Well, if you haven't been sued, you're probably not that big yet.
Yeah.
As, as you grow, that's going to eventually happen when you hit 5 million or 10 or 15 million in
Right.
revenue, whatever it is. I mean, it's just bound to happen. That just means you're doing business with a large
I think
group
I'm in
of
3 or 4
people.
lawsuits right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like nonstop. Real estate's very litigious.
Yeah.
I'm gonna smoke all of them though. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like I'm not worried about it. But the worst decision, the biggest mistake I made, is once I cracked the code, it was like game on. I knew I had the system. I had the
Right.
Lyle. I had the
You knew you could hustle. You just needed the entire system.
So now it was like,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
And so I went from doing 0 deals to 1 to 10 to 20 to 40. And Lyle was picking and choosing what we were getting. But I was making so much money that by the end of my first year, full year as a wholesaler, my portion was $1 million. So just think how much I was making Lyle.
Damn.
Right.
Like I lit it up.
Lyle's taking 80%.
Oh, he gave me back and forth.
Yeah,
Like,
Lyle made 10.
he made the most money actually in years 2, 3, and 3.5.
Right.
And it was at 3.5 when I cut ties with him
yeah.
from as the mentor relationship
Yeah.
because he purposely took too much.
Did he say what took you so long to cut ties?
That's exactly what he said. 'Cause I
You
didn't-
idiot. Yeah, why didn't you bounce?
he was like,
Yeah.
he goes, I thought you were just going to use me as a crutch forever. Like, but
And he gonna take it,
He
too.
took like
Yeah.
80-90% of a deal where we made like 60 G's. And I remember I was so pissed. I'm like, dude, this is wrong.
Do you think
And-
he did that on purpose?
he did
just,
do it on purpose.
Just to make you finally realize it's time to go?
That's exactly what he did.
True
Yeah.
mentor and
That's exactly what he
gangster.
did. And when I did it, I got mad, and he just started.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
Yep. He goes, dude, you
Finally.
lasted a year longer than I thought you would. But anyway, the biggest mistake I made is I didn't pay taxes. because as an entrepreneur, you don't realize, like, I was taking draws. So when you get money in the door and you're a solopreneur, you have a very small team, and like you have your little expenses and your overhead and your marketing or whatever. But like I made $1.3 million on my tax returns. That's what was taxable income. The problem is I spent it all.
Yeah.
I got the new trucks. I took the cool vacations. I got the clothes. I bought the watch. Like I'm doing all the dumb stuff you do when you finally come into money.
Till the $400,000 or $500,000 bill.
$40,000 bill comes in the door. And I didn't understand that, like, I had my structure wrong. Like, you don't want to be an entrepreneur taking draws. You want to actually be like on salary of your own company. Yeah. And pay taxes in real time.
Get a W-2,
and then eventually set up an S-Corp. Like my structure now is an S-Corp that owns a lot of my other businesses. Yeah. So all my money kind of flows up.
Up to the S-Corp. Then you have your salary from your S-Corp and take your draws there.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I screwed up. And I remember I looked at Shannon and I'm like, this is bad. Like I might go to jail over this because I don't know how I'm going to pay $550.
You're about to get Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. I'm like, I know celebrities that go to jail for this. Like I have to figure out a way to create this money and pay it. So it was a big step back years 2 and 3 to slow the spending down, and all my money got diverted to paying last year's taxes. Right. And the problem with that is the penalties on $550,000 in interest. Yeah. It was like every time I got a letter, it was like another $12,000 in penalties. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going so far backwards. And at first, I for the first 6 months, I didn't pay it because I was coming up with the game plan of how to create the money. And then the last 6 months, I'm getting my ass kicked with interest and penalties. So that 540 grew to like 600. And it took me almost 3 years to unbury.
They're more gangster than
your
listening.
Mentor. Pay your taxes.
That was actually one of my questions, though, is like, as an educator, because I mean, we do taxes and accounting for investors and entrepreneurs, and you're an educator helping investors. Like, how often do you see that with people coming in the game? Like, you know, they start getting some traction and they just don't know how money works, and it comes back to bite them.
A lot, almost all of them. Yeah. I mean, they don't teach it in schools.
They don't.
You know, where are you going to learn it? So thank God there are people like you guys now talking about this to entrepreneurs, saying, look, pump the brakes, set your foundation up the right way. If you do it, if I would have done it right from the beginning, it would have been fine. But
what we say, and we just did an episode on this, I think that was just the last episode that dropped, was what you need to do is you need to come up with a reserve. You need to have a reserve built in your business. Then from there, you need to make sure that your taxes are paid. Businesses are going to struggle. They're going to hit hard times. You're going to have ups and downs. So make sure that your business and your company's good so that your employees are good. Make sure that your taxes are paid. Then you could talk about kind of the lifestyle or live the life that you want. But you have to go through the proper process. Your issue is you made so much money so quick. Most entrepreneurs might make $100,000 or $150,000 and ease into it. The lesson that they learn is still a slap on the wrist compared to the bare butt spanking he got, because it's a 30 or 40 grand hit, and they're like, oh damn. But it's all relative, right? True. Like a 30 or 40, if you're only making 100 or 150, that might seem like a lot of money to you, but you know, it's relative to the fact 1.3, $500,000 in taxes. But so a lot of people get that pain point at $100,000 or $150,000, not 1.5 million, you know. So yours was a little bigger lesson than most.
That's why I love real estate. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not you know, trying to sell little widgets and make a nickel. You know, it's like I was going for the big money right out of the gate.
6-figure checks. Have you ever made 7 figures on just one deal?
Yeah. I almost.
Is it multifamily or a single like?
No, I did it on a single family. So we normally those big checks like that are on my spec builds. Yeah. So the way my world right now.
You're doing one right now though too.
Yeah, I got a bunch of them. So my world right now, I own a development company.
Oh, cool.
Called Green Elephant Development. It's a for-purpose development company where a portion of all of our profits goes towards elephant conservation.
Oh, cool.
And the green part of Green Elephant Development is we build with a lot of green building materials. Right. And so that I do that with my 2 best friends. One of them went and got a general contractor's license. The other one went and got his real estate license. I kind of was the glue that pulled it all together with a lot of my resources and stuff that I built over the years in my other companies, and I funded it with some money to get us off the ground. And we're in our 4th year right now, just finished our 3rd year, and we have 5 big spec builds going. We just pre-sold one for $780,000 profit.
Yeah, there was some neighborhood or something that you keep going to that has a big, beautiful house that's being built. Yeah. All those houses look amazing in there.
Well, that's my house that I'm building.
Is it?
But where we're building is also beautiful. And we focused in on this place called Arcadia, which is like a part of Phoenix and a part of Scottsdale, where all the young money wants to be. And so they're all kind of like that modern farmhouse looking type of neighborhood. Yeah. And we have a whole bunch of different sets of plans. We buy a house, tear it down, level it and rebuild a spec. Those ones are all $500,000 to $1 million profit, depending on the deal. The first one I did was a spec in Paradise Valley, and I made $1.8 million, but I had some partners in it, so I netted a little over $1 million.
It wasn't Lyle, was it?
No, it wasn't Lyle.
Lyle was long gone by then. If Lyle was there, then he would have made 80 off of it. Lyle would have made 1.7.
I know. So it's great though. Just for anybody listening, I still talk to Lyle on a regular basis.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Is he still doing his real estate thing, or is he kind of old, retired, just kind of chilling?
He's old. Yeah. I don't think he'll ever retire. He's 78, 79 years old right now. Still squirrely.
Still with it upstairs.
But
still sharp.
But I can tell he's in transition. Every decision he's making now is he's thinking about what he's going to be leaving behind, and he's unwinding any complications right now and just making sure it's easy.
Everything, so he's not leaving headaches behind.
Exactly. Gotcha. And his kids don't want to do real estate like him. I wouldn't even want to do real estate like him. He's the most creative real estate investor I've ever met.
Right. So what would you say is your main focus? Like, do you like multifamily? Do you like to hold and rent forever? Do you prefer flipping? Do you just touch every piece of real estate concept that you possibly can and then just kind of, or do you go into something with a plan like, hey, this is a multifamily, let's buy it and flip it, or let's try to flip it, make a bunch of money. If we can't get the number we want, then let's rent it. Like, kind of, how does your game plan work in terms of where you put your attention? Because there's so many ins and outs and so many different ways to make money in real estate. Like, how do you choose, or do you just play in all facets?
So the development company's doing development stuff. Yeah. So we have that going. I got 22 rehabs, 5 spec builds. I also have a wholesaling company, which is what I got into the business starting. Yeah. So that wholesaling company, we do about a house a day right now, nationwide.
You have a team of people that just go out and knock or call or whatever.
They're training right outside this room right now. So I got about 17 total team members in that company, and all they're doing is flipping contracts. Yeah. And so we'll do, anywhere between 20 to 40 deals a month flipping contracts. And then me and my partners, we have a holding company that whenever we come across a home run, or if we get into a deal using creative finance, and we didn't talk too much about that, but there are ways to basically get sellers to give you their house for free.
Right.
It's not wholesaling.
Check out cleverinvestor.com to find out more. We'll leave them on that cliffhanger. Yeah. There you go.
It's definitely it's more complicated, but imagine if I want to buy your house and you already have a mortgage on the property, and I'm talking to you and I'm like, look, I'm going to buy your house. We've already come to an agreement that you want to do a deal with me.
Right.
The problem is I'm going to go to a bank and get a loan only to buy your house to get rid of your other loan. And who wins in that scenario? The bankers.
Right.
All the fees and all that stuff. What if I pay you a little bit more for your house, but you just leave your mortgage in place and I just step in and start making those payments because you already have the loan in place. You don't care, do you?
Right. I'll transfer the note.
Yeah. Well, not even transfer the note. Leave the note in place. Transfer the title over to me. I'll take over all the responsibility for repairs and insurance and maintenance and all that stuff. And I'll give you some cash and you just leave.
You get to walk away.
You just leave. So
you're paying them equity.
Well, I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole because this is like now we're going to get into like
the granule
real estate. If they want to know more about that,
that's when you got to pull out your credit card.
I have a ton of free training for that. But if they housesforfree.com.
Houses for free.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a free report that breaks down the 3 ways I'm using to get sellers to give me their house.
Right.
So anyway, whenever that scenario happens, or we're really nerding out on luxury Airbnbs right now. And I have a Airbnb strategy where I'm bringing in, like Avengers is one of our masterminds.
Yeah.
Ken. The reason I co-founded that mastermind is because I wanted to put a group of people together that were high net worth individuals that were interested in real estate. And we raise a lot of money out of that group for like people go, Cody, I want to do a deal with you. Okay, cool. Let's do a luxury Airbnb together. And so I have a lot of people that will be like, hey, I got $300,000 or $400,000. What can we do? I'll be like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take your $400,000 and I'm going to use it as gap funding. Okay. And I'm going to go find a $1 million to $2 million house. I'm going to buy it using your money paired with hard money.
Yeah.
I'm going to use your money. We're going to buy it, renovate it, theme it out, furnish it, list it as an Airbnb, get the Airbnb business running, and then I'm immediately going to refinance out of it.
Yeah.
And I have a company that does LLC refinances at 4.75 to 4.8%. And you could do unlimited because we have so many companies.
Deep pockets,
we have so many companies that are healthy that they will give basically our companies a loan. So it's not us personally. It doesn't have anything to do with my credit. It's an LLC loan.
Right.
And so
it probably has to do with the credit that you've built over time with doing deals with them, though, yeah?
Well, it's just...
Or do they just do that from day one? They just have an open wallet for you?
Well, just, like take like...
Or do you have to build that relationship?
Either Green Alpha Development or Clever Investor. Yeah. We do tens of millions of dollars. So they look at the health of our company and they just go, look, we'll give your company basically with them backing it, instead of you personally backing it, them backing it, we'll let you get these real estate loans. And so that's why I love real estate. It's mastering leverage.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so I buy it, renovate it, do all that stuff, get it Airbnb, I refinance back out into a long-term financing. And then at that point, I'm able to give my financial partner about 60% of their money back right away. And then the other 40% comes from us running the Airbnb. I tell my financial partner, you get 100% of the profits of the Airbnb until you're made whole. And now you're 100% paid back, but I'm going to keep you in the deal as a 50-50 profit share. So I get to own the real estate. Okay. I used your money to get into it. I'm going to give you, let's say, 25% ownership in the real estate, but 50% split in the profits.
Profit share. Yeah.
So it's great for me because I own 75% of the asset. I get to depreciate it and I get all the tax benefits and all that. But we share the profits. Yeah. And now it's infinite returns for you because you got all your investment back. Normally that takes about 11 to 12 months for it to go full circle. And
which is a short time frame.
It's really good. Yeah. It's a great model. I call it the Airbnb strategy. And we've done maybe, half a dozen are completed. I got another half a dozen in the works. My goal is to get 50 of these bad boys all over the world.
Yeah. We might have to do one with them.
Let's do it. Because it's one of those things where it's a fun strategy. And really what happens is anybody who does it with me is kind of in the club.
Right.
Because I got 50 of them in Hawaii, Costa Rica, Vegas, Sedona, Scottsdale. Like I'm going to get them all these exotic locations. Well, hey man, what's available right now? I'd like to go to one of
take a family vacation.
I would like to take a week and go, hey dude, go take our Costa Rica one. It's not being used. Right. Boom. So it's kind of like a little bit of a good old boy club.
It's a win-win. It's a brilliant strategy.
So
that's what we're focusing on right now. I do a lot of residential.
Have you seen a lot of that though? Like you're transitioning every 3 to 5 and like continuing to just be a student of the market and see where it's going because Airbnb wasn't around, 10 years ago.
My main thing is all the millions I made, tens of millions I made, flipping real estate was great. And it opened up a lot of opportunity and other things because I had money to play with. But nothing makes my heart happier than the real estate I own, kept, and I get cash flow from. And so, like the Grant Cardones of the world, they got it right.
Which is way awesomer for tax.
Look, you own the real estate. It's a twofold benefit. You get the tax benefits, you get the cash flow, right? And if you can get enough cash flow to where that's what's paying for your lifestyle, like the model for a young kid is work 2-3 jobs if you have to, save as much money as you can as fast as possible, buy an asset that cash flows, a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, just whatever you can get into that, move into one of them if you have to, house hack your way if you have to.
Rent out some of the rooms,
rent out the rest, live for free.
Yeah.
So that way you could keep working and live below your means. Don't live the IG lifestyle. And just hustle to the point where now all of a sudden you have 4 fourplexes, 8 fourplexes. Now you can roll them up, maybe do a 20plex. And then that 2, 3, 4 year sacrifice
Mm-hmm.
is going to set you on this trajectory where you'll be free forever if you just sacrifice for a little while.
And even your future family, right? Like your
All of
kids,
it.
your grandkids. Like I tell all these kids that have worked for us that are younger and they're buying their first home. Like remember Tyler Black, he's buying his first home.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, honestly, I wish I would have never sold any of my properties. I had them all still. You know, and like that's the only advice I could give you, man. Like I wish I would just held it. And then when you understand taxes and you're buying back depreciations on the ones you do hold for a few years and you depreciate, you're like, why do I ever sell anything? I want assets. For me to live a great life, but then also my family that comes up behind me, right? Like you're just leaving them a legacy, right?
He didn't listen to you.
I know he's ended up selling it.
He bought it for like 120 and sold it for like 180.
I've told multiple.
Like 2 years later or something like
think
that.
about
So
how
that was
out
a
of
lot of money
control
for
the
him.
world is right now. Everybody is just, it's like a circus, right? Everybody's
Yeah.
just freaking nuts.
It is.
And I'm here in my little bubble with my little wall of real estate around me, kind of like, I really don't care.
Security,
I
yeah.
really don't care that much.
Yeah.
I care because I care,
Yeah.
but I don't care because I'm in fear.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I have this financial
You're not
wall.
afraid of inflation. You're not afraid.
Well, think about real
you
estate's
don't
a
like
hedge.
it, but-
Real estate's a hedge against
Yeah.
inflation.
Right.
Yeah.
All of my cheap debt. This is why
The houses just go up.
This is
and
why
then you own
Zillow
the houses.
and all Open Door and all these
Realtor.
iBuyers are buying
Homes.
thousands of homes a month.
Yeah.
They are hedging against inflation. They're going to be in negative interest rate territory with their portfolio loans. Everybody listening, I doubt I will find a single person that says a year from now interest rates will be lower.
No.
Right.
Like everybody
No.
feels it.
Yeah.
You know where things are going.
Well, everybody's wondering when is something
When?
going to pop. Like everybody knows the world hasn't been right for 18 months and it's been propped up on, print money, stimulus checks, this,
Dude,
that. So everything's going.
Shannon goes, why did the government just send us $333?
I know.
Like I'm rich.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I didn't get that.
I should not have qualified.
Yeah.
Right. The child tax
Yeah,
credit.
I got
Yeah.
some.
I keep getting them too.
yeah.
I'm like, I need to opt out.
I'm like, this
My
is
wife said,
wrong.
where's ours?
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
can we send it back? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want the $300.
Oh, they're gonna make you pay it back anyway. You might as well
Yeah.
just figure out how to opt out of it.
Yeah. But it was just, but that absurdity
Right.
is why owning real estate right now more than ever is important.
Smart.
Because if you understand inflation, as it goes up, cheap debt goes down.
Yeah.
And you get paid to own real estate. Imagine if you hold it for long enough and you buy it for 3% today, but
Inflation.
in 10 years from now,
Yes.
interest rates are 10%.
Yeah.
You're now getting paid to own that 3% debt
Mm-hmm.
because the new dollars are worth way less.
Yep.
And so it's just like, now's the time. We have this window of like,
Mhm.
I never thought I'd see it again
Yeah.
because I made my fortune in the 08
Oh, wait.
crash.
Yeah.
When that happened, I went down to the foreclosure auction.
Rape and
I
pillaged.
remember sitting
Yeah.
there. I had a friend that said, I flipped a house. I made 19 grand. I'm like, you're full of it. He's like, no, I bought it down at the foreclosure auction. They're giving houses away for free. So I went in end of 07, beginning of 08. I went down there and I'm like, he wasn't
Holy
kidding.
shit.
They're actually giving houses away for 15, 20 grand that were 150, 200 grand a year ago.
Right.
And I'm like, I got to get in on this. So I started buying houses down at the auction. I bought 2,000 houses.
In what? In a 2, 3, 4 year time? Something like that?
Yeah, about a
From
four-
08 to
about a
maybe
4 year,
2012.
maybe 5-year period. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got out in 2013 is when I slowed down at the auctions.
Because you started seeing the prices kind of come back up, or
that.
Felt
And
it.
I mean, I pulled out early. I should have stayed in another
Yeah.
year or two, not realizing that actually was still cheap compared to 2020, 2021 prices.
everything in the past is cheap compared to
I
2020
know.
prices.
But at the time, I'm sitting down there. We've already bought thousands of houses. It's getting harder and harder to find a good deal. And I'm complaining about it. And then I see a bus pull up with some guru who gets out and they're like, this is the auction. This is how you do it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm over.
oh,
I
they're
gotta move
starting to pimp the auction out at that point.
I got to
yeah.
move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I never thought I'd live to see another opportunity like that.
Mm.
And it's COVID put it right there.
What do you think
Yeah.
about all the new, like, with the loan regulations and everything they put in after that 08 crash? Like, do you think, I was just talking to Adam Cantos from the Remax CEO, dude.
Okay.
Obviously, he's a little biased because he's a CEO for this company, popping up brokerages, right? So he doesn't think there is a crash coming, right? He's like, this is just all being driven up because of, inflation and all the regulations they put in on getting loans. They're not handing them out like they were in 06, 07. He's like, we don't have a crash coming anytime soon, right? That's his prediction. And I'm like, it just feels like 50-50, right, to everybody else out in the world. And you being more on the investor side, do you have any feelings or predictions on what you think is going to happen?
Well, I'm sure he gets asked this question quite
all
a bit.
the time. Yeah.
You look into your crystal ball, Cody.
Yeah.
Tell us what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah.
And everybody, whatever he says is going to be 100% true, and it will happen. So listen closely.
Exactly how I say it will.
Yeah.
I do think the mechanics of what he's saying, the underlying mechanics is there to not have a massive crash in the real estate space.
Not an 08 type situation.
Not like what we had.
Yeah,
Not a foreclosure
yeah.
meltdown.
Right.
There's trillions trapped in equity right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So I do feel like the stock market is going to have a problem.
Right.
I have a lot of stock friends that are buying 2024 options and or pulling out or just going into long-term holds,
right,
and realizing this is hey,
Weather
I'm not going to do
something
anything
out.
for
Yeah.
18 months.
Yeah.
And these are guys that make 50, 60, 70 million a year in profits in the stock market,
right,
which I'm not a stock guy.
Yeah.
So
right.
when I hear them talking, I'm just like, you guys are the best that I know.
Yeah.
And you're kind of hedging
Hunkering
that you're
down a
pretty
little
much
bit.
thinking
Yeah.
2022 is going to suck.
Yeah.
So I believe you. The real estate, here's what I love about the real estate space. Inventory is extremely low right now, and it's not going to get better anytime soon.
Right.
There is major supply chain issues.
Right.
Inflation is going up, so I think interest rates are going to change, maybe up a point and a half over the next
Start
year.
hitting 3.5, 4 again, something like that.
Which
yeah, it's still low compared to the if you look at the last 50 years.
Yeah, it was 4 to 6% for a long time, and there was periods where it was 12, 16, 18%.
Oh, yeah.
Well, in 04, 05, before the crash, anybody in mortgage could write their own interest rate because they'd get a bigger commission. They could put 8% right there or 9% and then present it to you, and if you take it, then you take it.
Mm-hmm.
We have a guy that we know. He's like, man, back in the day, you just write in your own interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
If it was an idiot, you'd put in 10% or whatever.
That's
and all
so
that stuff.
wrong.
And yeah, it is. He's still an idiot. But, we enjoy golfing with him every once in a while, though. But yeah, I mean, I saw something and I posted it on our Instagram stories about foreclosure starting to climb.
They are, but they're 4% or no, they're 60% lower than they were this time last year.
And
Pre-pandemic levels. So even though they're up,
Yeah.
they're down overall. And I just posted this because Adam, who does ATTOM, if you want to Google it,
Yeah.
puts out a quarterly 3 foreclosure U.S.
Report.
foreclosure report.
Right.
And I read it, and it was like
Did
foreclosures
it show the
up,
same thing?
Yeah,
It was
it was
going
like
up?
foreclosures up this amount, this amount, this
Yeah.
amount, but down 60% from this time 1 year ago. And you're like, okay, so the picture, once you zoom out far enough, really is like, yeah, it's kind of ticking up, but it's still down pre-pandemic
Gotcha.
levels
Media
because
stuff.
of the government
Stimulus. Yeah, the free
now,
money.
what will
It's
happen
not
when that's
free.
all 100% worked through
Yeah.
will be market by market. I don't think it'll be a nationwide thing.
Yeah.
I think Florida, New York, Chicago, like Illinois, California, there's certain markets that are going to get hit pretty heavy. Arizona,
No.
not a problem.
Right.
Like, I don't think we'll notice.
My take on that was, even if foreclosures start increasing, and this is what I told somebody, I said, I think that there's so many real estate investors right now that I don't think that you're going to see a dip in the prices. Yes, behind the scenes, foreclosures might be going up, but there's a lot of real estate investors that'll just start gobbling some of these things up
Well, why would the bank sell 'em for-
pre-foreclosure or at
Right.
foreclosure. So you as an individual, if you're not a real estate investor, might not even notice what's going on behind the scenes because there's going to be enough people that have money, deep pockets, that'll gobble it up.
There'd have to be hundreds
there
of
are
thousands
sparks.
dumping. Supply and demand is just, I mean, the reason prices are so high is just supply and demand.
But do you think that the demand is there because the money's there? If people
think it's
start
both.
hurting financially, then maybe the demand wouldn't be there as much.
Yeah, maybe,
Right.
maybe, but it's still, you got to look at real estate long term, and the smart money knows that 50 years from now, you'll never find materials or real estate as
Yeah.
cheap as it is even today
Yeah.
at the
Right.
top of a market.
With
So
inflation, $1 million house today is going to be $4 million in 50 years
Yeah,
or 70
they're
years or
looking
whatever
at it 30
it is.
years, 50 years.
Yeah.
They're playing the long game.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why they have billions and billions of dollars in war chests. They're buying up everything they can, and the inventory is not gonna hit the market fast enough. Even if 300,000 homes all foreclose tomorrow, it would get gobbled up, and within a month or two, we would be right back to where we were.
How quick are you seeing some of your flips go? Like a week,
they're a little
2
slower.
weeks, 3 weeks?
It's slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's slowed down a little bit, but it's definitely, we're still pre-selling.
Yeah.
I don't think the rapid ramp up is being felt, but we're kind of like
right there,
a little plateaued.
Yeah.
And it's not going down. And we're doing great. I mean, I can't think of a better time in my last 17 years. I have never made this much money in real estate. It is a fantastic time to be in the real estate business.
Yeah.
So you can go to cleverinvestorloans.com if you need some of that Cody stimuli, dude. You know, so he's just said he's rolling deep.
Yeah,
so we see you're doing well, and you know, we definitely look up to you. I mean, you guys need to understand, Cody's not just. It's not just one facet. It's not just real estate. You have other investments, other companies. You got OSNAP. Why don't you tell them a little bit about OSNAP? Because that's something that we're just barely getting privy to, right? In terms of what that's about.
OSNAP's a supplement company that I launched with my good friend John Malott and our other business partner Terry LaCour.
Soon to be Trevor and Kale as the fourth business partner.
You guys want in?
Snap! Oh, snap!
So it's liquid nutrition delivered in a revolutionary delivery vehicle called a Snap Pack. We're the first to market with it. We have 4 products: energy, sleep, DNA repair or age reversal, and
that's why you look so young.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
just Snap and all the reverse.
He's giving you guys the secrets in that.
And then we have a daily multivitamin with organic greens. Our whole thing, and look, I'm going to get on a little soapbox.
Yeah,
but you
go
guys
for
are
it,
kind
please.
of like, you guys roll like
Send
that.
it.
So, the reason I decided to do this is because I believe when the pandemic hit, I think it highlighted just how unhealthy we are as people, as Americans. Right. And with this whole clown circus and everything going on right now, I'm like, if I could be in charge, the first thing I would do is pull Fauci off TV. And I'd hire a health education czar.
Preach.
And I'd put them on TV, and I'd say, we are going to take the $1 trillion that the pharmaceutical companies, we're going to carve out a huge couple billy.
Yeah.
We're going to take some tax money instead of giving it out to all these people. We're going to incentivize people to get healthy.
Right.
And we are going to come up with this badass program.
$1,000 per pound.
Yes. Can you imagine?
They'd lose 100 pounds just like that to get 100 grand.
Imagine if I was incentivized to get healthy.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, everybody. First off, we're doing this nationwide health and fitness challenge. 75 hard for the nation.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. Drink your water. Get your morning sunshine. Read your books.
Doing your walking or your running. The whole neighborhood's walking and running. That would be cool, though.
Shut the news off for the day. Like, read your book.
Yeah.
Get personal development. We would have the healthiest, most fit, most able-bodied nation on planet Earth. Because, like, you look at who's affected by this, it's old people and people with pre-existing conditions that are overweight.
Yeah.
Let's curb it.
Yeah.
And let's incentivize. People won't do it unless there's a massive, like if I knew that I could potentially win a $250 million grand prize.
Do a nationwide fitness
challenge. Just some
challenge.
weird thing like where hey, we're going to take 1,000 people. They're all going to become, we're going to give out $1 million to 100,000 people, or just some dumb number where it's like, I actually have a shot of doing this. And we incentivize. So
how about instead of giving out child tax credits and all these crazy credits, it's like, why don't we give you a healthy credit? If you're in your family or like hit this BMI, whatever it is, right? Calculator. It's like, your family gives us tax credit.
Because they don't give a shit. That's why.
It'd be cool.
Let's
I know.
just keep it real.
The health industry, the pharma, the
if they wanted everybody healthy, they would have a damn government TV show with.
But it is ass backwards, right?
Richard Simmons over there in his spandex teaching everybody how to exercise.
Let's make you not be able to breathe.
Yeah.
Let's make you not be able to move.
Don't go in the sun.
Let's make you feel emotionally
Drive-throughs are open.
Yeah. And Sonic had its best year ever last year.
Really?
Think about that.
Wow.
They increased billions,
going out of
billions of
business
dollars in market.
Our area.
So you look at that and you're like, we're so backwards. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So OSNAP was a small part of way I can. So we have no sugar in our products. There's we call it diobesity. there's a sugar pandemic and there's a overweight pandemic. And so it's like, okay, let's attack it with our products, make them super easy. People can throw them in their bags. Like when you see the Snap Pack, it's not like I have to have water. I don't have to mix the drink. I don't have to carry around a big can. It's just a little Snap Pack. You just snap it and go. You get instant results.
Because that's most people's excuse. They don't want to
It's too
do
much
the
work.
shaker, the this.
Yeah,
and,
no
you
messy
know,
powders,
yeah.
no hard to swallow pills. And
Yeah.
elderly people and young people have a hard time taking pills. So there's either a messy powder, hard to swallow pill, or a sugary gummy. Those are your options.
Yeah.
And so we went with the liquid nutrition. It absorbs faster, and it has no sugar. It's vegan. It's all the things that and it's cool. It's cool looking. You know, the brand is on point. I'm a branding guy.
Right.
We have people already. I'm 5 months old. I'm in my 6th month right now. It's a network marketing company. We have a little over 2,000 ambassadors already signed up. We have about 5,000 customers, and they're just catching on to what it is and how it works. And our brand is already bigger than our company is. We have people that are taking pictures. Like I got an O-Snap tattoo with our logo and stuff, and I'm like, already? Like
You're more bought in than I am.
I know. I'm like, I don't have any.
Hey, let's go. Yeah.
So I thought that was cool, and I can visualize a day, a year, and year and a half in the future where it's a recognizable brand, kind of like an Advocare, Isogenics.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, here's what for people listening. Like, I know we started the episode. You're like, hey man, like I've just gotten really good at leveraging things, right? And that's been like your genius,
superpower,
your superpower. It's like, but from our conversation today, I'm like, man, people don't realize like how scary it is to put yourself out there. Like going to that event, your friend bailed on you, you still went anyway. Getting to a position where you're actually leveraging people's money. That's so scary. Most people are not willing to take on that risk because what if they fail, right? And so, man, just from our conversation today, I'm like, holy cow, like, and that's the secret of my success too. When I think about it, it's like all the success I've had is like really just willing to put myself out there and just go for it, right? And like I've seen it in your ads. I remember following you and seeing your ads like a couple years before I even met you at Stuman's first MDM. And it's like, man, you're just so good at putting yourself out there. But people think like other people are just like naturally good at it. Was that really hard for you to do it? Because I know how hard it was for me, and I'm still getting better and better at it. But it's like, you seem so great at it. But most people don't realize how hard it is for people.
Well, you're Cody, dude. You're a clever investor. Right. It's easy for you.
Yeah.
No,
that's what people are going to say, right? That's when if they see 1 million followers, blue check mark, the houses, the cars, whatever. That's easy for you.
Yeah.
But that's an easy thing to
There's
say.
an element of truth that it's gotten easier for me.
Of course, with reps.
Exactly. In the beginning, I remember when I first started recording myself, it was on a flip. You remember those?
Motorola?
Right.
No, it was like
the Razor?
No, it was it was like literally a thing. Like you would click it and a little USB thing would flip out.
yeah.
And it was a recording.
Did it have a little light at the top?
Yeah, it was just like a little recording device.
Okay.
It was just a record. It was called a flip cam or something. And I would record myself, and I'd be so nervous, and it would come out so bad that I would delete it.
Yeah.
And do it again, and I would delete it. And even when lives first came out, I was very early to the live thing. I was when Periscope and Meerkat first came out. I was day one.
Yeah.
I was like, "What is this?" And I was at a party. My friend was like, "Oh, here, let's download it." It was the day it came out, and he goes, "You just hit this button and you go live." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "It's like an on-demand webinar where anybody who else has the app can just watch you, like a TV channel." And I'm like, "Oh." And I remember I went live, and I got real nervous all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like, all my internal
I know exactly
hairs.
how that feels.
And all of a sudden, I saw one person come on, and I'm like, "Oh, hello, hi," and then they left, and I'm like, "Oh." It's like
I'm not good at this.
It's like every party I never got invited to. I'm like, "Oh my God, nobody wants to watch me." And I can't tell you how many times, and I'm talking about 1,000.
Right.
I went live, I said whatever I said, and I got off, and instead of saving it, I deleted it immediately.
Yeah.
I never posted it because I was so self-conscious about it. But what happens, I call them bits. What happens is, through those reps, I started to form talking bits around different things, whether it was success or health or real estate or,
What, just to give you more structure to where you felt more confident?
So, like, have you ever watched a speaker and they, like, it almost feels like they're downloading from God in real time. And you're like, how are they so smooth and all that?
Oh, yeah.
And, like, they can, on the fly, like, if somebody throws something at them, they just can maneuver. those are their bits. They what you don't realize or see is they've had that same conversation
a million times
with different people in different ways. But now you're seeing them up on stage and they're so good, but
you see it for the first time and they've done it 1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so now, and a lot of failure. So I actually recorded an infomercial one time. I had a group approach me and said, we want to put you on TV. And I was like, I don't think I'm ready for that. And they're like, trust me, you're ready for that. Let's go. This was like in 2014 or 15. So they flew me out to Florida and we recorded an entire infomercial. Never saw the light of day.
A real estate infomercial?
Yeah, like selling books and stuff.
Yeah.
And I hated every second. But I remember the whole time at the infomercial, I was like sweating profusely. I'm like, this is the worst infomercial, the worst experience. I bombed horribly. Nothing I said came out right. This whole production cost like $100,000. Somebody else put up the money.
Yeah, you fucked up.
And I just
felt as though you did anyways.
Oh, I left there, and for 3 months, it felt that sinking feeling in your stomach, knowing that you bombed. Greatest thing that ever happened to me. I made a decision during that 3 months of my pity party that I will never be unprepared or be in a situation. My mentor used to always tell me, a person never rises to the occasion. They fall to their highest level of preparation. And for me, I wasn't prepared. I didn't have my bits.
Yeah.
I never really thought.
You were just going out there with
real estate knowledge.
And you're like, throw whatever at me and I'll talk about real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't
didn't work.
It doesn't work like that. Winging it is not a strategy.
Well, hey, that nugget's for me because I'm a wing it type person.
Hey,
you know?
We've had to get a lot better at not though. Like, we've suffered our consequences of winging it. We got along. We got
well, when you started this off, you
it,
said episode what? 100?
126.
You took you the second we said let's go, you took ownership of this podcast. Like I felt it. I was like, oh, I got to step my game up. Like he just took it. So
it wasn't like that.
No, it was
on 1 or 2 or 3 or 4.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're now 100 in. You got this.
Yeah.
Same thing.
So no matter what anybody's doing, it's just about getting the reps, no matter how uncomfortable those reps are. You've been put in so many different uncomfortable situations, but you just kept moving forward. And that's really what it comes down to. The more reps you get, the better you get at whatever it is that you're doing, whether that's speaking, whether that's real estate. I'm surprised you went back to real estate after the debt you got in, the 9-month period, then you quit and gave up. And what you guys need to understand also, what's important is the people that you surround yourself with. Luckily, he had a friend that said, dude, come to this real estate. No, I've already done that. And then you had your fiance, dude, go. You know, so
it's important to have people around you that see that
if he didn't have that
you.
person or his fiance, is like, who knows? He could still be
He
could be working at Easier Accounting, bro.
That's true. You could be a bookkeeper.
We're hiring. So if you ever want to go back to the bookkeeping side of things.
My best job I ever had before I actually became successful was selling weed out of the Burger King drive-thru window.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't good at that because
we all sold a little weed, haven't we?
I wasn't
a little weed. Come through, get the double Whopper, ran through the machine 3 times with some extra burnt
here's
pickles.
Your high and
like,
here's your munchies.
That dude wants a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't good at it. My homie fronted me an ounce and I smoked the whole thing. I gave him like $50 back. He's like, dude.
Didn't you listen to Biggie? You can't use your own supply.
Hey,
right, man.
That's amazing.
I should have took notes during that song, but I didn't. Dude. I got it, and I called all my homies. I was like, bro, I got a bag. Let's go. Get the bongs out. So then it was gone like 24 hours later, and then I realized I wasn't very good at dealing drugs.
What was the guy on Friday that pulls up in that thing, that big perm?
Yeah.
Where's my money, Smokey?
Yeah.
I'm rolling up on you.
It was my buddy, so I talked my way out of it. But
there you go.
Anywho, dude, we appreciate you, having us in your studio. I know Stephanie appreciates being in your studio. She's in love with it. It's much better than the conference room that we do our podcasts in. But how do people connect with you if they want to find OSnap, if they want to look at the real estate stuff that you're doing, or if they just want to follow you on Instagram? I know there's probably a few different avenues that people could find
at
you.
Clever Investor on all social platforms. I love that part of the social, the connection part. I'm not a huge fan of social media other than that, but cleverinvestor.com if you want real estate investing education. OSnap, OSNAP.com if you want to learn more about our supplements. just DM me. Just shoot me. I mean, that's probably the best way.
Yeah.
Just tell me what you're into. I mean, we have real estate masterminds. I have online education for entrepreneurs with 100 Million Academy.
Right.
So it really doesn't matter where you're at in business. I mean, it could be a 20-year-old kid that has 10 grand to his name, and he could find something, a source through you for his budget. But also, if you're people like us doing $10, $15 million a year in revenue, you know, Cody's got the Avengers Mastermind. He has the $100 million dollar mastermind.
Yeah, so we have
as well.
We have two masterminds. You know,
Yeah.
a high level one for very high level entrepreneurs. So if you're doing, you know, 8 figures, 9 figures, like 100 million mastermind experience is that. And then if you're into real estate or doing less than that, then Avengers Mastermind. And then, the online education stuff. But just send me a DM. I'd love to connect. And I do have that free report for you if you want to get into creative real estate investing, get houses for free. I highly recommend building a portfolio, getting that cash flow into your life. Just go housesforfree.com.
Guys, make sure that you reach out to this individual. You probably have YouTube channels as well, stuff like that. So if you guys want to check them out a little bit more in detail, check them out on YouTube, check them out on Instagram, Clever Investor. And, you know, this individual has many different avenues that he could take you down depending on what your interests are in real estate. If that's your thing, if it's not your thing, it's something that you probably should look into if you have a little bit of disposable cash or extra cash flow. The reality is the reason why me and Kel are where we're at is because we have multiple streams of income. If you have a company that's doing well right now and spitting off, you know, 20, 50, 80 grand a month, whatever it is, you need to be utilizing that to set yourself up for the long term. Right? I think the issue in entrepreneurship is people live off of the money that they make from their business and not use their business as a vehicle to really create financial security long term. That's really the issue that's going on. And so we do a great job of making a lot of money and investing the money that we make because our future self will thank us. And this is an individual that does the exact same thing. And you guys need to make sure that, as he said during the podcast, real estate, I mean, 20 years, 30 years with inflation, this is the time right now. If you're wanting to do something or if you've ever been interested in it, make sure you hit Cody up. He'll make sure that he directs you wherever you need to go in terms of whatever your goals are. So, again, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you for having me on. This was a good one. I actually enjoyed myself. Thank you, guys. I'm
you
glad
absolutely
I did this.
crushed it. So, and we appreciate it. So, guys, make sure you're rating and reviewing the podcast per usual. Share it with a friend or family member that you think can get value. Other than that, kick ass and have a good day.